Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today is a beautiful, sunny Wednesday, but the news we have to discuss is anything but bright. Grab a giant cup of coffee and get comfortable, because we have a massive casting shakeup to unpack. I cannot even believe they are doing this. I am sitting here in the dark, staring at my laptop screen, reading these latest soap opera digest reports, and my jaw is literally on the floor. I mean, are you kidding me right now? Just when a character finally hits their absolute stride, just when the writers finally get the chemistry right and the storylines are actually cooking with gas, they decide to pull the plug. I am so frustrated I could scream. And I know for a fact that I am not the only one feeling this way because my group chats have been blowing up for the last 3 hours with messages from you guys. We need to talk about Jack Brennan. We need to talk about Chris L. McKenna, because the exit rumors are officially true, and I am absolutely devastated. So let's just rip the band-aid off right now before I go off on a massive, uncontrollable tangent. Soap Opera Digest is reporting that Chris L. McKenna is officially out at General Hospital. Yes, you heard me right. WSB agent Jack Brennan is leaving Port Charles. But that is not even the worst part of this whole fiasco. The worst part is how he is supposedly leaving the canvas. The word on the street, according to these inside sources, is that TPTB are going to kill him off this fall. Kill him off. I am sorry, but what on earth are the writers thinking? I have been watching the show religiously since 2015. I have seen the highs and the lows, and this is exactly the kind of short-sighted, baffling decision-making that drives me absolutely crazy as a loyal fan. Let's take a trip down memory lane for a second, because we have to acknowledge the journey of this character. Remember when Jack Brennan first showed up in Port Charles? Charles Majeur originated the role, and he was great, don't get me wrong, but his stint was a total blink-and-you-miss-it situation. He vanished so fast, we barely got to know the guy before he... Then, in February of 2025, Chris L. McKenna stepped into the shoes as a recast. And let me tell you, recasts are incredibly tough to pull off. I know some people hate them and refuse to accept new faces, but personally, I think McKenna took this role and completely elevated it to a whole new level. He made Jack Brennan his own. He brought this smooth, dangerous, incredibly charismatic energy to the WSB director role that we desperately needed on our screen. And he wasn't just a one-note, mustache-twirling villain. He was complex. He was playing 4D chess while everyone else in town was playing checkers. I mean, think about his dynamic with Carly Spencer. The banter, the tension. He was always popping up at Bobby's or the Metro Court, dropping these subtle, terrifying threats wrapped in a charming, handsome smile. He had this way of looking at people like he knew all their darkest secrets. Which, let's be honest, he usually did. Why would you get rid of a character who brings that much flavor and sophistication to the canvas? It makes absolutely zero sense. But wait, I am getting ahead of myself. Okay, back to the point. Let's look at the current storylines. Right now, Jack Brennan is literally the glue holding half the major plots. Let's talk about the Nina Reeves situation. Can we talk about this? Because the chemistry between Chris McKenna and Cynthia Watros is off the charts. I was so skeptical at first. I really was. I thought, oh great, another random doomed pairing for Nina to mess up. But then they had those scenes at Windermere. Remember when they were desperately tearing Windermere apart looking for that missing black box? The stakes were so high. They were panicking about Drew Kane waking up from his locked-in state, and then boom, they just surrendered to this undeniable chemistry and hit them. It was messy, it was chaotic, and it was fantastic soap opera television. We have been watching them slowly inch toward a real, genuine romance. He has been protecting her, warning her to pull back before Willow pulls her down. He actually cares about her. And Nina finally has a man who matches her level of crazy, but in a sophisticated WSB agent kind of way. So, what is the plan now? Are they just going to rip him away from Nina right when she finally finds someone interesting and dynamic? I swear, if they kill him off, Nina is going to spiral all over again, and I just don't know if I have the emotional energy to watch another Nina Reeves break. Although, maybe a tragic widow-esque storyline would give Cynthia Watros some killer Emmy material? No, wait, I hate it. I take it back completely. I want Brennan alive. I want them scheming together and running Port Charles as a true power couple. And it is not just Nina. Look at the massive blackmail conspiracy with Willow Kane. Willow is currently spiraling completely out of control, demanding full custody of Wiley and Amelia from Michael, and freaking out about Drew Kane rapidly regaining his mobility and speech. And who is her ace in the hole? Jack Brennan? He is the one who promised to get the dirt on Drew. He is the one who has been manipulating the situation from the shadows, offering to neutralize Drew's threat. Without Brennan, Willow's entire storyline loses its most dangerous wild. I mean, Brennan has been playing everyone in town beautifully. He unfroze Valentine Cassidy's assets just to try and get his hands on that black box. He has been warning Carly that Valentine will always choose Anna Devane over her, planting those toxic seeds of doubt. He is stirring the pot in every single direction. You do not just take a character who is deeply embedded in the Valentine and Carly drama, the Nina romance, the Willow and Drew blackmail plot, and the overarching WSB corruption storyline, and just kill him off. It makes zero narrative sense. It is a waste of a phenomenal setup. I have been watching this show religiously since 2015, and let me tell you, this is the worst thing they have done since they unceremoniously killed off Julian Jerome. Remember when they tried this with Julian? They ruined his character development, backed him into a corner, and then had him die on a bridge. It was a terrible end for a legacy character, and the show suffered for it. Or what about Victor Cassidy? They brought Charles Shaughnessy in. He was absolutely brilliant. He chewed the scenery in the best way possible, and then they blew him up on a boat. Yeah, didn't work then either. The canvas always feels deflated after they kill off a top-tier villain. We need antagonists who stick around, who scheme, who go to prison and break out again. We don't need more ghosts haunting Port Charles. Also, I know some people are loving this, but personally, I think it's a massive cop-out. I see the comments on Twitter. People are saying, good riddance, the spy stuff is boring, let's get back to the hospital. But personally, I strongly disagree. The WSB drama is what sets GH apart from the other daytime. We need the international intrigue. We need the shady agent. And Brennan was the perfect gray character. He wasn't a pure monster like Ross Cullum, or an unhinged thug like Jen Sidwell. He was a survivor. He was a master strategist. Which brings me to the absolute worst part of this entire rumor. The permanent exit. The death. I am sorry, but faking deaths is a General Hospital staple. We literally just went through a massive storyline where we found out Cassius Faison was posing as Nathan West and faked his death to work for Z. Jason has died and come back more times than I can count. Why does Jack Brennan have to face a grim, permanent fate? Why does he have to be the one who actually bites the dust? If Chris L. McKenna wants to leave the show, or if his contract is simply up, fine. I get it. Actors move on, they book other gigs, they want to try new things. But TPTB must leave the door open for Jack Brennan's return. Do not put him in a body bag. Do not have him blown up in a warehouse explosion or shot on the pier. Just send him back to Steinmauer. Have Z arrest him and lock him in a deep, dark WSB black site in Jakarta right next to where they kept Jason. Let him rot in a cell off-screen so that in 2 years, when the show inevitably needs a charismatic villain to shake things up, he can break out and return. Think about how much potential is being wasted here. We still don't even know his full backstory. There are fans out there theorizing that the new doctor at GH, Tristan Roberts, might be Brennan's secret son. Tristan showed up claiming to be an ex-WSB agent, but he clearly has a hidden agenda and pushed back hard against Brennan's authority. Imagine the dramatic potential of Brennan having a secret operative son roaming the halls of GH, keeping tabs on Anna Devane. If you kill Brennan now, you completely destroy any chance of exploring his family history or his deeper ties to the agency. And speaking of Anna Devane, let's go off on another tangent for a second. Anna is currently losing her absolute mind, hallucinating Peter August, and plotting to murder Britt West. The PCPD is a total mess. Dante stepped down, Chase is back on the force. The whole law enforcement and intelligence community in Port Charles is in shambles right now. Brennan was the one guy who actually seemed to know what was truly going on. He knew Jason was innocent of shooting Cullum. He knew Rocco Falconeri pulled the trigger, and he was keeping that explosive secret. If he dies, do those secrets die with him? Or does his murder expose everything? Let's talk about this rumored murder mystery. Because you just know that if they kill him off, it is going to be a massive false sweeps whodunit. And honestly, I am already exhausted just thinking about it. Let's run through the suspect list, shall we? Because Brennan has literally made enemies out of half the town. First up, Drew Kane. Obviously, Drew would want him dead. Brennan helped Willow keep him paralyzed and locked in his own body for months. That is a pretty solid motive for murder. But is Drew really going to risk going back to Pentonville when he just got his freedom and his mobility back? Then you have Carly Spencer. Brennan has been a thorn in Carly's side for months. He has been manipulating her, dropping hints that Valentine Cassadine is still obsessed with Anna Devane and trying to drive a wedge between them. Carly is fiercely protective of her family, and Brennan knows too much about Jocelyn's involvement with the WS. Would Carly pull the trigger? Maybe. But we all know she would get away with it because Diane Miller would work her magic. What about Michael Corinthos? Michael is ruthless right now. He is acting like a corporate raider at deception. He is destroying Willow in family court, and he might see Brennan as a loose end that needs to be tied up. Or maybe it's someone from the WSB. Maybe Z decides that Brennan is a liability and sends a hitman to take him out. The suspect list is endless, which is exactly why a murder mystery sounds so exhausting. We are going to spend 6 months watching Dante and chase false leads while the real killer walks free. I do not want. And what about Jocelyn Jack? Let's talk about her for a second. Jocelyn is currently recovering from a gunshot wound and fiercely defending her WSB career. She literally just interrogated Brennan about his WSB liability. The dynamic between the veteran, cynical spy and the young, overly confident recruit was just starting to get incredibly interesting. Brennan unfroze Valentin Cassidy's assets to retrieve that black box, and Jocelyn warned him it was a massive liability. He was basically acting as her reluctant mentor, whether he wanted to admit it or not. If you kill him off, Jocelyn loses that crucial sounding board within the agency. Who is going to guide her through the dark underbelly of the WSB now? Z? Please. Z is terrifying, but he doesn't have that snarky, bantering relationship with her that Brennan did. Also, consider the sheer ripple effect this death would have on the broader canvas. We just had Jason return to Port Charles, fundamentally changed by his WSB captivity in Jakarta. He officially quit the mob to focus on his son Daniel. Jason has deep, unresolved trauma from what the WSB did to him. If Brennan is murdered, does Jason get dragged back into the spy drama as a suspect? Does Sonny Corinthos get involved because the WSB is encroaching on his territory? Brennan's death wouldn't just be an isolated event. It would be a massive grenade dropped into the middle of Port Charles. And while that sounds dramatic, it forces all these characters into a reactive state instead of letting them drive their own stories. I want to see Jason face off against a living, breathing Brennan, not stare at a chalk outline on them. I am just so worked up about this because it feels like a massive missed opportunity for the show. Chris McKenna brought his absolute A-game to every single scene he was in. Whether he was lying in a hospital bed at Turning Woods, faking a locked-in stroke, or standing in a tailored suit threatening someone at the Metro Court, he commanded the screen. You cannot teach that kind of presence. It is a rare find in daytime television right now, and throwing it away feels like a crime. So here's my desperate plea to the writers, the producers, Frank Valentini, and anyone who is listening behind the scenes. Please pivot. Change the script. Reshoot the scenes if you have to. If the False Sweeps murder mystery is going to be about who killed Jack Brennan, I am going to lose my mind. We don't need another generic whodunit where half the town is a suspect because Brennan blackmailed. It is so cliche. We have seen it a million times. Let him escape. Let him go on the run. Let him pull a Valentin Cassadine and vanish into the night, leaving Nina with a broken heart and a cryptic note. Just don't close the door permanently, because I guarantee you, 6 months from now, the canvas is going to feel incredibly empty without him. The villains they bring in to replace him will probably be one-dimensional thugs who just wave guns around and yell. Brennan was a psychological villain. He played mind games. He was elegant. He was the kind of bad guy you actually rooted for sometimes because he was just so damn entertaining to watch. I am going to miss seeing him on my screen every week. I am going to miss the snarky comments, the arrogant smirks, the undeniable chemistry with the leading ladies of Port Charles. I am going to miss the absolute chaos he brought to the Quartermains and the Corinthos. He was the ultimate disruptor, and Port Charles needs a disruptor right now more than ever. Okay, I need to take a breath. I am typing so furiously my fingers actually hurt. I just needed to get this out of my system because I am so passionately invested in